We're going to be talking about a topic today that, well, it's kind of hard to talk about. Because usually when you try to talk about it with any nuance or any genuine desire to, have the best possible outcomes for people's health and safety, people usually just sort of muddy the waters with like insults and memes and jokes and whatnot. And the topic we're going to be talking about in question is fatphobia. Now, most people I see talking about fatphobia online and talking about why it's bad themselves are at least a little bit overweight. And in every single response, that is used against them. Like, just always. Like, it's like, oh, you're just mad because you're fat and I'm making fun of you. Haha, get wrecked, dumbass, fatty, whatever. And that's the kind of shit you'll see, right? Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, chat. I'm not fat. In fact, if anything, I'm underweight right now. I need to be cramming more calories in. That's why I've been bulking. That's why I've been counting my calories and staying in that surplus. So they can't really use the "you're fat" thing on me. But today we're going to be talking about fatphobia in like a more genuine and like hardcore analytical way. Not only that, we're going to be talking about and even criticizing my favorite podcast. We're going to be watching a segment from, or at least part of a segment from, and criticizing my favorite podcast. Problem is, my favorite podcast is, well, the hosts aren't exactly the best when it comes to politics, so it's going to become pretty clear momentarily. So, the fatphobia discussion of this week basically started when Steven Crowder, who is just awful, he is just horrific. He does hate black people and Asian people and Hispanic immigrants and gay people and trans. He hates all of these groups. Like, do I need to go down like the whole list of things that this guy's done and said that make this like indisputable? The guy's like the guy breaks YouTube TOS in every single video and YouTube doesn't care. That's basically this guy's like running thing, is that YouTube is basically giving this guy second chance after second chance after second chance, and he keeps like... I feel like I have to at least show this, right? Here we go, check this out.
This week marks the second show in June, which is officially Louder with Crowders, Cultural Appropriation Month, where we take you across the globe to experience and appreciate all the great cultures this world has to offer. This week, the mystical, age-old culture of China.
So, YouTube did not really care about that. I think he got like a little slap on the wrist for it. The guy's also gone on rants about how he legitimately does not like believe that, gay people are valid. Like the guy is just a straight up bigot in every single category, right? Funny thing is, though, he is also probably, like, almost certainly a chaser, too. A little gawk goblin. He's a little gawk goblin. So I think that's pretty funny. Because, to be clear, all transphobes, pretty much, their transphobia comes from, like, some latent, like, repressed sexual shit. Pretty much every time. Yeah, he's a little gawk goblin. Don't you guys worry. That said, though, we're not here to talk about Steven Crowder and how much of a horrific human being he is, just generally speaking. We're here to talk about fatphobia and him engaging in it today, or yesterday, actually. No, Gatorade, this is not healthy. And then an image of his TV that I guess he clearly took a screenshot or like a photo of his TV, and it's like a Gatorade ad, and then you've got an image of a fat woman at the gym exercising, and also nailing this handstand, by the way. Holy shit. I don't know if you guys... I could not do this. I can't. I'm honestly afraid to do this. I feel like my neck would break. Yeah, I'm honestly afraid to do a handstand. Like, I genuinely am too paranoid. Or a headstand. I'm too paranoid about my neck breaking. So yeah, absolutely fucking goated shit right there. So the fact that she's doing a handstand like that shows that she's athletic and has a good core. Anybody who knows anything about working out should know that. And she's at the gym working out in the ad. So if you are the type of person who genuinely believes that, like, fat people, like, you don't hate them, you just want them to, like, get in better shape, work out, you want what's better for them, you want them to be healthy, etc., 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 then you should not be opposed to this ad. This ad is depicting and arguably encouraging overweight people to work out, and even advertising a sports drink for working out, clearly to people who are overweight. So this isn't about wanting overweight people to improve their health. It's about you not liking fat people. You see them as disgusting. You want them to be a constantly existent group in society that you can make fun of and attack and get away with, and there not be many social repercussions for it forever. And if you want to see what fatphobia looks like in its most like disgusting form, I'm going to show it to you, all right? So I'm going to show you guys a clip, all right? This is from my favorite podcast, okay? I want to I'm sure that PKA fans will probably see this, so I want to clarify. I want them to know this is my favorite podcast. I like PKA. I really do. I think this is a hilarious podcast. I do not watch them for their political takes or their takes on social issues, because their takes on both those things tend to be very bad. Very, very bad. But when it's just them, like, shooting the shit about whatever, especially, like, video games or whatever, or working out, I enjoy it. I think it's pretty funny. It's one of those situations where you gotta be able to recognize the problematic aspects of the media you enjoy. With that said, the hosts of PKA are like proudly fatphobic. I feel like this is a good little insight into what I'm talking about here. So on the top right, you have Kyle, aka FPS Russia, really huge OG YouTuber. On the bottom, you have Taylor, who is just like a Call of Duty commentary guy. I didn't watch this stuff back in the day, but he's generally pretty funny. And on the top left, you can't see him right now, but you've got Woody's gamer tag. In the bottom right here, you have Danny Mullen, who's just a piece of shit provocateur dude. Like, he doesn't really go. He's literally wearing a hat that says Danny Mullen freed the slaves. Like, his whole thing is like, haha, I'm so edgy. I like to trigger people, but you can't cancel me. So yeah, here's him complaining about getting canceled for fatphobia.
I thought Chiz wanted me to come on and talk about this actually right after it broke, but we got canceled super heavily by fat chicks.
I know.
I don't know if you guys heard about this.
I heard a bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was pretty juicy. So these fat chicks dredged up an old podcast clip of mine from December that I just had no recollection of. Mm-hmm. And looking back, it was one of those rants that just comes from above, where it's you can't even take credit for it. Like, I imagine Beethoven composed symphonies that were similar. Yeah. It's just out of nowhere. It was. You haven't heard this thing. It was the point where you're like 75% through your podcast. So for you guys, it's maybe the 3-hour, 15-minute mark where the conversations died out. I just come in with, is there anything more worthless than the bottom half of a fat girl? I mean, and especially a titless fat girl. And I said, if her boobies don't come out past her big belly, she should be shot in the head like a cow. Woody, I'm talking about the issue I had with obese women. They tried to cancel us lately. So it was. Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I didn't miss the beginning.
So he's just now starting. Yeah.
I'm just cooking up. I was just telling them it came from one of those moments where there was just a lull in the podcast. Like last December, we were just bored. We were about to go on vacation. I wasn't taking it seriously. And I just started talking.
Oh yeah, this Danny Mullen guy's on YouTube, by the way. He's not like banned or anything. Like he does the whole like YouTube's trying to like shut me down thing, but YouTube hasn't fucked him over or anything like that. This is the kind of stuff he does in this channel all the time. So to be clear, YouTube is okay with this.
Talking about how nothing is worse than the bottom half of a fat girl, because the good thing about a fat girl, and I was fucking around, is that it's easy to get a blowjob, and generally their tits.
Yeah, he was fucking around. It was just a little fucking around. So you can tell by the fact that like they're laughing and yucking it up about this, that yeah, they're joking, but just because they're joking about it doesn't mean they're not serious. You know what I mean? If they're like, clearly you have to have some pretty strong disdain for fat people to find jokes about shooting them in the head because you find them worthless and useless sexually, is what he said there, to be funny, right? I mean, I like edgy humor. I watch PKA. I've been watching this podcast for years. It is my favorite podcast, and it's a very edgy podcast. This does not fall into the same margin of edginess as this podcast usually does. The problem that this podcast has is that, and I guess I'll give my take on PKA, I guess, because, I mean, people are going to see me talking about it, and I've said it's my favorite podcast, so here's my opinion. My problem with PKA is that it's partly a problem and partly what makes it nice. Zan, the woke skulls will cancel you for saying that. Zan, get out of there. Nah, I don't fucking care. I've already said that I like the PKA podcast and I watch it. You know that, like, you're allowed to enjoy things that are problematic as long as you recognize they're problematic, right? Like, that's fine. That's fine. Like, I obviously don't like this. There's a reason why I'm covering it and why I remembered it. And it was like, here, let's dunk on this as a prime example of how disgusting fatphobia is. Anyway, to be clear, nothing about this humor or nothing where this is coming from is about, like, wanting fat or overweight people to, like, be healthy, right? Like, none of it is about what is best for them. It's all about, like, vitriolic, sort of displays of how disgusted they are at people who look differently than them. And if that's your sense of humor, you can find it funny. But does that not denote some level of bigotry? Some level of disrespect you hold towards a group of people that really haven't done you any wrong? I mean, like, that's pretty vitriolic to have, like, internal sentiment towards a group of people who haven't really done you any wrong other than be overweight. Now, I've watched PK a lot, and if they saw this clip, they'd be like, what do you mean? Fat people inconvenience me all the time, like getting on the bus or waiting in line or paying taxes because of healthcare. The same types of people who say they don't care what anybody does as long as it doesn't hurt them tend to also be the same types of people who love fatphobic humor and fatphobic rhetoric, right? It's ironic, right? Every dude you've ever heard go on some rant similar to what you just heard or something akin to that, you've probably also heard, oh, I don't care what anybody does as long as it doesn't affect me or anybody else, right? And yet they believe this kind of shit, and it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a lot of deep hatred you seem to be venting right now for it to just be, it sounds like you actually fucking hate fat people. And obviously this is a very vitriolic and horrific example that I'm showing here, but, like, it's not talked about much. Like, I feel like everybody on the left that does talk about fatphobia is always, like, immediately retorted against with the, well, you're overweight. You're just mad that you get called fat. Well, do I look fat to you? No. I think it's cringe. And the reason why I think it's cringe, well, there's actually multiple reasons. One, I'm a good person. And two, I actually do care about health. I do. I care about people being healthy. There's nothing I love more than watching, like somebody who's, like, morbidly obese on YouTube catalog their entire weight loss journey and, even better, become shredded. That's awesome. I love that shit. That's the stuff I'm binging at 2 a.m. when I can't get to bed and I'm on, like, midnight YouTube, right? Burning the midnight oil. I love that stuff. That's great. It's inspirational as fuck. It's awesome. It's amazing. I love seeing people who are overweight get into good shape. That's awesome. Hell, I've got friends that are overweight that want me to help them get into good shape, and I want to help them. So yeah, it's like, that's not the problem here. I think it's, I mean, well, you saw the clip that I just showed you. I think a lot of people feel and hold the sentiment that those jokes came from. Those may have been jokes, and I'm sure that Danny Mullen isn't even serious about that, but to find it funny and to make the joke, I mean, it's coming from a genuine sentiment, right? I don't think that's arguable. And I think that genuine sentiment is very, very common, and people try to mask that sentiment with this virtue signally defense of, like, oh no, I'm not just trying to attack and hate fat people and insult their appearance and stuff. I'm only doing it because I want them to better themselves. I want them to lose weight and I want to motivate them to get better. No, you don't. For one, look at the amount of vitriol and hatred in the clip I showed you, and two, look at how they react when someone who's overweight is actually shown working out. It's just disgust. It's just the disgust response and them reacting with vitriolic hatred, towards the group they're disgusted by. It's the same thing that drives all of their other politics. It is unfortunately a pretty common tendency among conservatives for the disgust part of the brain to react faster and more strongly than the logical, thinking it out and, reasoning with what you're seeing part of the brain. Okay, maybe at face level, this makes me feel a little weird, but let me think through this for a second to see, is this actually something worth being, enraged about or impugning as, some sort of moral failing on the part of individuals in our society, right? Anyway, that's my rant on fat phobia, okay? I don't know what I'm going to call the video, maybe why I hate fat phobia, or maybe just I hate fat phobia. Xanderhall, fat phobia is so genuinely tiring to hear, it's just something that's constant. It's basically universally acceptable to just viciously shit on fat people. I had to repeatedly ask my own my own fucking father to stop making comments about my weight. Took a few tries to get him to stop. Yeah. Fat phobia is probably one of the most accepted phobias in our society, which is also why it's so frustrating when right-wingers and conservative-leaning centrists try to pretend fat acceptance is this overwhelming wave of society. The most fat acceptance you usually see is stuff like that ad. That's what they mean when they say fat acceptance. Is ads that or like a clothing ad that for a sports bra that has an overweight woman wearing it. Well, what the fuck are overweight people supposed to wear to the gym? What do you mean? You see this discourse the right starts all the time online where it's not about, oh, this thing is bad because it encourages being overweight. They argue that, but what they feature is literally something advertised to people who are overweight that want to lose weight. They are simply disgusted. They don't want to see fat people in their gym trying to lose weight. That's not something they want to see. They want to see fat people online continuing to be an acceptable target for them to engage in downright murderous rhetoric towards. Because it's totally acceptable. Even on TV, in children's programming. Fat phobia is fine. Fat people are fine to be the butt of every joke. Tons of children's cartoons have the fat character who's dumb and is the butt of every joke and is always on the that's just a nonstop prevalent consistent thing, right? And I'm sorry, but putting down a group of people further who you want to feel motivated to change something and go down a hard journey, and losing weight is a hard journey. Putting them down further doesn't help. It just doesn't. Putting down people who already have a very difficult road ahead of them, negative reinforcement is not going to help them. Okay? There's a reason why no personal trainer that's worth their salt that an overweight person would hire to lose weight would be giving them negative reinforcement. They'd be giving them positive reinforcement, nonstop. Obviously there'd be some what are you doing? Oh, you fucked up here. What are you doing? You cheat on this? You had this or that? You had some pizza? Whatever, that might happen. But generally it's going to be, you're doing great. You're doing great. I need you to push. Come on. I need you to, that's every physical trainer I've ever seen is nonstop positive reinforcement, a carrot on a stick in front of you, metaphorically speaking, to keep you moving forward towards your goals, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think fat phobia is fucking disgusting. It oftentimes tries to masquerade as a genuine concern for the health of people that are overweight, but in reality, it tends to be a defense for... It just tends to be... These people that are fat phobic tend to just use this, virtue signaling shit as a defense, and I don't like it. I fucking hate it. Anyway... With all that said, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. It really helps out my videos, my channel, my streams, everything a lot more than I think you guys realize. You can also support me by subscribing, ringing the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube tells you when I go live or I upload a new video. And of course, if you want to support me financially, you can always do so by coming to my website, xanderhall.com/live, and clicking either the donate button or the subscribe button up there on the top left of the screen. And you can either donate to me, subs for yourself, or gift subs to other people like a real socialist. But regardless of how you support me, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.